Good morning and welcome to RVN TV's Entrepreneur State of Mind. My name is Krista Smolda, your host each and every Tuesday at 11:30. I've got with me today a great guest. His name is Sean Boyce. He's an entrepreneur of two companies. Today we're going to talk about one of those companies. Today we're talking about NxtStep Product Management, and he is the owner of NxtStep. Welcome to the show.
I am. Very nice to be here. Thank you very much, Krista.
All right, so I always start my shows off because we're talking about the person and their story, because most people didn't just wake up and say, I'm going to be an entrepreneur when I grow up. And you've got a cool story. We've actually worked at the same company.
Yeah, we have.
Comcast, yeah.
That's right.
Just a small company with Comcast.
Local. Some people have heard about it, I'm sure.
Yeah, some people have heard about it. So tell me your story. Like, take me back to college and what you wanted to be when you grow up.
Absolutely. So for as long as I can remember, I've just basically loved solving problems. It's been in my family history. My father's a successful entrepreneur. He's run his own business for about 30 years. So I've had early experience that it was a very lucky opportunity for me to have. And all throughout high school and then leading up to university, where I attended Drexel, studied engineering there. Natural fit for me. I excelled in the maths and sciences, not in English, not particularly in literature, any of those categories. I had an interest, but it wasn't really a strong suit of mine. Math and sciences, on the other hand, were fascinating because it enabled me to break down problems and solve them and come up with equations and all that kind of stuff.
So did you think when you were in college, like, I'm going to be an engineer?
I think it was by default. I had probably no choice but to be an engineer, but I was happy with that as an option for sure. Yep. And then that ultimately led to me learning more about business. While I was Drexel, I also minored in finance because I had a passion for that as well.
Good idea.
It ended up complementing the engineering skill set very well. And then as I watched my father grow his business rather successfully, and I started to play a larger and larger role in that, and it was very exciting.
Yes.
For me, it's very exciting to watch something grow. It's very exciting to create something from nothing, to solve people's problems and build a business around that. So I had always had aspirations to want to build and start my own business at some point in my career, and then eventually I got that opportunity.
Now, what did your dad do?
So he runs a business in the staffing industry, and it's also, it's like high-level contract engineering services, if you will, to the energy industry.
You know, most people, I think about my parents, right? We would just like go get a job and work 9 to 5 and get a 401k and all that stuff. So you're fortunate that you had that in your family.
Absolutely.
So when you graduate college, did you go get a job?
I graduated college. I immediately went to go work for the Vanguard Group out in Malvern, the mutual fund giant. And
another small company.
I was able to, over my course about 6-7 years or so working there, I worked a number of their different buildings, and I did pretty much everything they do in IT, which is a lot. A lot of their business is over the web, but I did network engineering, systems administration, ultimately software engineering, and then I started to get a real feel for product management as well.
Yeah. So did you love when they said, the network's down, right? It didn't matter if it's
that
2
was
a.m.
always that was always me. I was part of the 24/7 group, weekends, holidays, whatever it took. Keep that network up and operational. Someone was conducting business somewhere in the world at some point because it was a global operation. So, it was.
And you worked for some other
interesting.
big companies. You worked not just Vanguard. You
did.
Name some of the other companies you worked for.
Sure. I worked for Sunoco, previously Sun Oil. I also worked for Comcast, Philly, as we talked about.
Yep.
And I worked for some smaller and medium-sized companies. Ultimately, when I started to get a better feel for what environment I thought would be more of a better fit for me, being naturally entrepreneurial.
So what was some of the triggers that when you were at work that said, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I just want to go do my own thing.
Good question. So I think it was the structure that for me ultimately didn't necessarily fit in with what I thought was optimal for someone like myself. I always wanted to solve, if I saw a problem, I couldn't help but try to solve it. That's what I love doing. That's what my passion is. That's what I do. Yeah, that's right.
The same way.
So I know you understand how that goes.
Yeah.
And even when I was working at these larger organizations, you have clearly listed roles and responsibilities, and I totally understand that that's what works for them. That's how they build that environment. But for me, I see those problems, and I was very, very passionate about automation. And I can take the things I know about technology, and I can make things operate so much faster, so much better, to the point where even some of the tools that I built forever ago at this point when I worked at those companies are still in use today. So it was doing those things that for me, where I could see I'm saving this group all this, I'm saving our group so much time.
Yes.
Things are getting better. We're getting more value out of it. That was very exciting, seeing how it made everyone's jobs around me easier, better, and then we get to take on new assignments, get to work on other things, and it just eventually I come to figure out that that wasn't realistically the best fit for that environment because again they want you to maintain a very particular structure, and for me, I'd see those problems and be like, man, let's tackle this, let's tackle that, and I was able to do those very well, but at the end of the day, you're judged and scored based on how well you fit into a template, and I never fit into a template.
Like your employee evaluations, like Sean, you didn't follow the rules.
That's exactly right.
Saved the company $5 million, but you didn't follow the rules.
So once ultimately I continued to kind of fight that uphill battle for a while until eventually I come to realize that maybe there's environments out there that are better suited for my natural ability.
Okay, so if you're in the work world for a certain amount of years, you've established some sort of a nice income, right? And
Sure.
So what made you jump ship? Like, did you start building something on the side first, or did you just cut the cord?
Good question. So I took a baby step into the world of an entrepreneur, and for me that was, let's try something different from the large company environment, which I had a lot of experience in, obviously, at the time. And I went to work for ultimately a medium-sized company as a software engineer, and then I went to work for my first startup. And
Okay.
the closer I got to the founders, to the original inspiration, the idea, and being able to witness the entire operation and how things operated from start to finish, the more excited I got, and I just
you're like,
absolutely fell in
I
love
can
with
do
the
this.
world. And then ultimately that's how it became. It's like, well, it's really cool what they've done and they've built,
Yeah.
and I have a lot of respect for that, but I know I can do this. Like I've done many versions of this, building products within those large companies and groups that I've worked in, and just like, that's kind of how a company starts. Like you find a problem, you design it, you build it. Now that you have a product that solves some people's problem, chances are other companies have that same problem. I can build a business around this and I can sell this as a solution to everyone.
Yep. Every company has problems, and they don't have the budget to hire the resources either.
Good point.
Right.
That's
So you're
also
the
very
resource,
important.
but they'll 1099, they'll contract everything out.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I did that too. I left and I became a consultant to the company.
Very
so
cool.
I can make more money, you know.
We have a lot in common.
Yep, we do. So just we're going to take a break, but I want
Sure.
to learn in a few sentences, what is NxtStep
Absolutely.
Product Management?
So NxtStep is a consulting company that specifically helps people in the area of product management.
Okay.
What I mean by product management is everything that goes into making a product successful. So for me, what a product means is a piece of software that solves a problem. A number of customers have in a particular market, in a particular segment. Can be web-based, mobile, realistically, it doesn't matter. It can also be a physical product, a watch, a phone, whatever it is, an app on the phone. All of these things are products. If a company is designing, building, maintaining a product, and they're selling that as a primary source of revenue for the organization, product management helps you solve all the problems associated with making those products successful. So I engage with companies where the product is not meeting the goals of the business.
Okay. Are you always engaging when it's not meeting the goals? Or are you sometimes there in the front to make sure it goes right?
Good question.
Start.
I typically get engaged on a more
Help. Love it.
Yes, right, in a more aggressive pace when
Yeah.
there's a fire somewhere, and I'm
Yeah.
the firefighter to put that out.
Yeah.
But yes, absolutely. So I've started to graduate as well. So I worked with a lot of startups. Some of the companies that have worked with are startups who have been taking an idea and building that and growing from there. But I've started to move up into medium-sized companies that have more of a mature product. We'll talk about the various phases of where that might fall into, and ultimately helping them maintain and grow as they start to scale. So
Yeah,
they've
we
got
have
that
a
solved.
slide that has a slide. We have an image that has a couple of the companies that you already work for there, right? So how long has NxtStep been in business officially?
So I've had my own consulting company for over 5 years now. I've had a specific product management focus now for around 6 to 9 months.
Okay, and these are the companies you're working with on the product management side.
Correct. These are the companies I've been helping thus far, varying degrees of size. Some of them are a little bit smaller, some of them are a little bit younger, but it's starting to grow and incorporate larger companies as well.
Good. All right, so when we get back from the break, we're going to talk about NxtStep and your service offering Okay, we'll go into
Sounds good.
detail and we'll talk about a book that's helped you kind of understand the product management life cycle. So stay tuned and we'll be right back.
Is your business growing and now you need a new and bigger building? Has your organization outgrown their facility and now it's time to expand? Do your hobbies require the need for more space? If you're paying rent, but now you want the advantages of owning, the prospect of financing, construction, and on-time completion may seem out of your reach. General Steel Corporation has the answer. A pre-engineered steel building from the General will not only look great and satisfy almost any need, but you'll save time and money. Our team will help you create your building and deliver it to your location. We offer design services to help you present your concept to board members, bankers, or for fundraising. And the General can even help with financing. General Steel is a name you know, with quality backed by a 50-year structural warranty. Call today and find out how easy it is to have the building you want. You may even save up to $20,000 with rebates. If you need space, you need the General.
Seniors want peace of mind and a free prescription discount card? Keep listening. Are you age 85 or younger? Here's an important message to you and all seniors from Final Expense Direct Insurance Services. The average funeral now costs over $7,000, and the most government benefits will pay your family is only $255. Our senior plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay up to $30,000 for funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam, and you'll have lifetime coverage.
Welcome back to Entrepreneur State of Mind. I'm Krista Smolda here with Sean Boyce, the owner of NxtStep Product Management. And we heard about your story and how you came into entrepreneurship. He's just a rule breaker.
Absolutely. That's what I do best.
I have a 15-year-old son, and I look at successful people, and I always say, what were you like in high school? And you were a little bit, you didn't always follow the rules, right?
It's too boring to follow the rules sometimes.
It is.
It's exciting
and
to break
sometimes
rules.
that's perceived as being bad, but
It
I
is.
don't think so.
It's funny, when I was talking about working in those larger environments, corporate world, breaking the rules is typically pretty bad. But in the smaller environments, when you're breaking rules and you're doing really cool stuff, people get excited.
Yeah, it's so much better. It's so much. I think that my son is benefiting from me becoming an entrepreneur, because probably 3-4 years ago I'd been like, "You need to do." I'm just like, you know what? Just let him go. Let's foster his strengths here.
That's great. I love it.
Yeah, which is creativity, not rule breaking.
Absolutely.
Right?
Definitely.
All right. So next step. Let's talk about that.
Sure.
You talked about kind of what it is at a high level, and there was a book that kind of inspired you to learn more about the product management lifecycle. So tell us about the book. We have a picture of the book, and your friend actually wrote the book, right?
He did. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. Good friend of mine by the name of Nir Eyal. He wrote a book called Hooked, and it's all about building habit-forming products. It's one of the foremost, well-recognized books in product management theory, and then the science behind that theory. So
Yeah.
Nir, he came to Philly actually towards the tail end of last year. He ran a workshop which I participated in, and he did a couple of presentations specifically about the theory and the science behind Hooked, the book that he wrote. And specifically, he created, or he uses to graphically represent how to build these habit-forming products, and something he refers
that's
to
the
as
quadrants.
the hook cycle. Correct.
Yep. Okay, and we
Yep.
actually have an image of that
Yep.
as well right there. So take us through
Yep,
that.
absolutely. So the hook cycle, which you can see in front of you here, breaks down into a couple of different quadrants, essentially how people go through and how they develop habits when using products. And this can be used as product development theory when you're trying to build successful products, right? You want to form essentially successful habits, positive habits for people to be using your products. So there's 4 phases in the hook cycle. There is a trigger, which ultimately creates an action, and then there is a variable reward, and then the final phase is investment. So what these mean, and I can walk through an example, like Pinterest, for example.
Can I try to walk through an example?
Go ahead, absolutely.
Okay.
Please
The
do.
trigger is on the app. I see that I have a notification from Pinterest.
So far, so good.
I click,
You
right?
do.
And so that's my action. Is
Click
that my
is your
action?
action, exactly.
I took action. I start
action.
looking, and I get excited. What's the third one?
Variable reward.
Okay, now what they're doing to me now is, because I'm refinishing my basement. So I've been on Overstock.com and things, looking at furniture, and that brown sofa just keeps popping up. Is that the variable reward that I'm seeing what I want?
How to phrase that as variable reward is exactly. You are seeing specifically what you are looking for, right? Particular color, particular item, the more you search for things, and like in Pinterest, as you're pinning things that
Yes.
you like, you are continuing to see things that are more custom, specific, tailored to what it is you want to see. That's
And
your
then I
reward.
buy the sofa, and that's the investment.
You buy the sofa, and in Pinterest,
I love
you
Pinterest.
continue to pin things,
Yes.
or you share with your friends, for example.
Yes.
And you expand it into your social circle, and then everyone sees how cool the things Krista found are, right? Like, wow, fascinating. And they start using Pinterest. So as the more investment you do, the more things you pin, the more things you search for, you don't want to lose that, right? So then you go back through essentially the hook cycle again. So the more
Yes.
you invest into this, the more custom tailored it becomes to you, right?
And then it
Like-
becomes insanity.
Right, that's right. Ultimately,
no, it becomes a habit.
it becomes a habit, exactly.
Yes.
And then also on the diagram, you can see there are specific types of triggers, and there's external and internal. So an external trigger is something like if you see an ad or a friend sends you a picture, which ultimately leads you to find Pinterest, the app. An internal trigger is when going through that hook cycle, essentially that initial external trigger, as you're using the Pinterest app, it's doing something to you emotionally.
Yes.
Like it's curing your boredom. It's something very interesting to you. So now you start to associate that boredom emotion with using Pinterest. Because the last time I remember when I was bored, when I was using Pinterest, I wasn't bored. I was enjoying it. It was a positive experience for me. So now your internal trigger becomes every time that you start to feel a little bit bored, you're thinking like, maybe I'll fire up the Pinterest app again. I'll go through again and I'll start scrolling and pinning
And
things.
it is a ritual for me. So like I lay down in bed and then I put my readers on and I go,
That's right.
Pinterest.
That's exactly how
Or
it works.
Facebook,
Yep.
either one of those two.
The way the theory works is that the tighter your hook cycle in that diagram, or the shorter period of time it takes for you to go through all four of those phases, the more habit forming that product can ultimately
okay.
become.
Okay. And so you said in the beginning it was a theory, then that's really science, because science is when the theory is proved out.
Correct.
And it's proved out with
It has
Pinterest.
Instagram, Facebook, a lot of the social media apps use products like this, other applications as well. It's a good basis or model to use when talking about designing and building your product. Like if the
Applies.
applications, the products that have been most successful and have experienced exponential growth have very tight hook cycles. And Nir has gone through and he's studied all these applications and he's figured out how they all address each one of these phases of the hook cycle. And the more comprehensive it is, the tighter it is. Typically speaking, he's found correlation there with the success of the product, the growth in the like explosive growth of users, all that kind of stuff. So if you're looking for some interesting reading and some fascinating science and theory behind product management theory, definitely check out Nir's book, Hooked.
Or if you don't feel like reading, you just hire Sean, and because you
That's
live it
another
and
option.
you do it. I mean, you're not a disciple, but you understand that book. You've presented about
Absolutely.
it, so you're an expert in essentially in this field. Tell us about NxtStep's service offerings.
Sure.
We have a slide on that as well. It talks about kind of like all the different things that you do. So
Sounds good.
there we go.
So the graphic that you see in front of you to represent my services, the way I break them down are to different levels of engagement effectively. And the way I describe them is there are three levels. It's show me, teach me, do it for me. And those are increasing levels of my involvement in your your product management operation to essentially make your product successful, product and your company successful. And then there's various services that are affiliated with those tiers of involvement. So for all of the tiers, you get my resident product management expertise. So product expertise in all areas, which breaks down into at least one of four categories. You have product research, planning, development, and marketing. I can help in any of those areas. And in product management, at some point, you will be focusing on one area or multiple areas. And then other options for those tiers and levels of engagement include things like unlimited access to me, 24/7 access to me, and then ultimately it graduates to the highest level of my engagement. I will become your chief product officer. So I will represent your company at the executive level to make sure that someone is paying very close attention to where your product is, where your product is going, and making sure that the direction that it's heading is in line with what goals you have set at the organizational level. So that it's everything staying on track.
What if this is just an I don't know if this has happened to you yet because you're still fairly new in the business, but what if there's already a chief product officer?
Great question.
That's just not doing their job.
Well, so a couple of options there, right? Someone already there is representing some form of product help. I have a number of clients where I'm helping train, explain some of the theory, like Neer's book and the hook cycle, training them on some of the theory, helping them with how to solve problems in practice. So individuals that are looking to improve their area of expertise and become a better product manager. I work with a lot of them. I work with them at the management level, and I work with them at the chief product officer level as well. So I will be engaged usually in a part-time basis, helping coach and ensure that success for the company overall is achieved. But what that means, if you break it down, is success for the product, because the company's revenue model is tied directly to the success of the product.
Yes.
And making the product successful is tied directly to the people behind the scenes that are helping manage that operation, which is the product management representative, which can be, again, a manager, chief product officer, and anything in between. But for something that's not going particularly well, like how I typically describe it, which is the product isn't meeting the goals of the business, they'll bring me in, I can audit the operation, I can immediately, very quickly find areas that need to be addressed and then help them prioritize that list, because since product management ties in all these areas, research and planning and development and marketing, it's very much can be a complicated operation. So I'm very good at coming in, making an immediate impact, finding out where we can do the lightest lift to make the biggest impact.
Yep. You know, it amazes me sometimes when, I guess, companies are just moving so fast that it actually takes another person to come in and be like, you can see it so quick.
That is a huge part of how I get engaged nowadays, because a lot of people want to have and hire someone full time in my role, which is good. But there is value in the external visibility into the operation. A client I just started working with, they laid out for me in one of our initial meetings before they decided to hire me the problems that they're having. Some of them are tied to revenue, some of them are tied to the product isn't meeting other goals. And they laid it out for me very black and white. And for me, it's unemotional, because I am not invested in this company yet. I haven't built or designed this product myself.
Yeah.
So I immediately came up with a couple of solutions for them where it might have been something they've been thinking about subconsciously, but they weren't ready to pull the trigger on that until it was verified.
Yes.
And to me, it was obvious.
Third-party validation. Here
That's
comes
exactly,
Sean.
it
Hey, guys.
helps.
All that stuff you were thinking. Yeah, it's true. Let's get started.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to take a break, and then when we come back, I want to talk about, the future of NxtStep, and I want you to talk about maybe a testimonial of a company you worked with and how you kind of helped them out.
Absolutely.
All right? Okay, so stay tuned. We'll be right back with Entrepreneur State of Mind.
Plus, your rates will never increase, and your plan cannot be canceled as long as you make your premium payments. Get your free information about our senior plans. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone. Plus, call right now and you'll receive a free prescription discount card.
Call 855-223-7661. That's 855-223-7661. 855-223-7661.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call Low Cost Airlines. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call now.
Thousands of people contact General Steel each month for a pre-engineered steel building. Business owners who need office, retail, manufacturing, or storage facilities. Leaders who need churches, schools, and gymnasiums. They all want the same thing, the advantages of owning, to build quickly and save money. Quality, backed by our 50-year structural warranty. And they all want to work with a name they know, General Steel. Call us today for the building you need and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction.
Welcome back to Entrepreneur State of Mind. I'm Krista Smolda with Sean Boyce, the owner of NxtStep Product Management and another company, but we're not going to talk about that now. So we talked about your company and what you do, but I wanted to get into maybe a testimonial of someone a company that you helped, and how you took them from 0 to 60 to 100.
That's right. And beyond.
Yes.
Perfect. Absolutely. So probably one I'll talk about is the company name is Employee Cycle.
Okay.
And what they do, it's a client of mine, they've been a client of mine for a while now. They create an HR analytics dashboard for HR professionals and small to medium-sized companies right now. What
Okay.
that ultimately means is in human resources, there are typically a number of disparate systems they use to track
Yes.
the operation and manage the operation. So a lot of data gets entered and it sometimes never gets seen again. So what they're doing is they've created a visual element, as in I can see dashboards, I can see metrics, I can extract value out of all of this effort that I've been previously putting in. Very quickly now, I can see like a snapshot of my operation.
So is theirs like an interface that talks to multiple systems?
Exactly. It
Okay.
integrates with a number of different HR systems. That we build integrations with the leading systems that the companies in our target market are using on a regular basis, and we bring that information, that data to life,
Okay.
so that they can tell their organization's story and they can address specific areas of
Yes.
concern.
Without
And,
digging into a million reports and then.
correct.
Yeah, not
I
enough
don't have to
time.
look at tons of numbers in a poor format. People are very visual and they respond well to
Especially
those
now.
graphics and
There's
visuals.
no time. There's no time to read
Absolutely.
the report.
Absolutely. So that's a good company, I think, to talk about in the way in which I've helped them. And so I'll tie in a little bit of product management theory here too, is there's two distinct phases over the course of building a successful product and kind of achievements to be unlocked almost as far as how well things are going. Those two, and they tie very closely with lean development methodology, if that's something that is or is not familiar. It's all about kind of doing the right thing at the right time. Toyota's famous for like just-in-time manufacturing. It ties into that type of stuff. So
Okay.
it's realistically a concept, but the timeline of these two particular achievements to be unlocked in product management is something called problem solution fit. That's one step.
Okay.
And then on the other step, a little further down the road, is something called product market fit. So the problem solution fit, when we talked about product management, involves research, planning, development, marketing. Problem solution fit is all about, have I identified a significant enough problem for enough customers to the point where it's worthy of designing a solution around it. So for Employee Cycle, their problem essentially became the fact that there's a ton of disparate systems and I'm doing a lot of work, I'm entering a lot of data, but I'm not getting a lot of value out of it. It's like I can't analyze that data very easily. So their problem initially was targeted towards a different industry. It's something other than human resources. I think it was healthcare we were targeting.
Oh, okay.
And what ended up happening was they still had a relatively similar compelling argument, and they were solving that problem in a way in which it was beneficial, but for various reasons it wasn't a good fit for that industry. Things are moving a little bit slower, operations are a little bit larger, there's a lot of individuals involved, there's a ton of systems, they have major compliance regulations with HIPAA and things like that. So the problem that they identified existed, the solution that they created was not a particularly good fit for that industry. And that solution, so that's where the problem solution fit comes into play.
Yeah.
Identify the problem and figure out a solution that ultimately solves that problem in the right way.
Yes.
So that's the first phase. And then the second phase.
Now you
that
helped them
Yep.
get a better solution. Like they had a solution in place they thought it wasn't fit for the industry, so you
Exactly.
changed the product so that it became a
Correct.
solution that fit.
We had identified appropriate problem, ton of disparate systems, entering lots of data, not getting a lot of value out of it. But the solution was to build a solution around that for the healthcare industry,
Yeah.
which ended up not being the right solution for that problem. So I
Built-
worked with
helped them
them.
build one for the HR industry.
Correct.
Okay.
I helped them shift that to the human resources industry,
Yep.
which has gone overwhelmingly positively so far, in that we're working with companies, we're talking to HR professionals, and they are loving what they're seeing so far.
Yeah.
A lot of them have been waiting for a system like this, and they've come up with a bunch of like ad hoc custom ways to try to do this, which is clumsy and counterintuitive.
The
and
Band-Aids.
Right, the Band-Aids
I
are trying
know.
to solve their own problem, which
Yes.
you talk to, and like one of my favorite things about product management is talking to the customers and finding out like where the
Yes.
problems are and what they need help with. Something
Yeah.
I did all the way back in my Vanguard days, of just doing it for different
Yep,
customers now.
yep.
So I help them take that problem and find the right solution for it. And part of that solve the right solution was identifying the right industry for the problem, because that problem persists across industries, but it's much more well suited in human resources than it was in healthcare. So I helped them figure out,
So you
and that's like
figured out the
solving
first
that
part.
step. Right, so that's achieving
Now
that
it's like,
first
now that
step.
we got the right product, right, let's go to market. That's the next one?
Correct. So that's the product market fit.
Yes.
Product market fit, after you've solved your problem the right way and you've identified the problem and you have a good idea of the size of your market, product market fit is all about scaling. So now we want to take our operation and we want to open it up to the masses. We want to get in front of as many audience as possible, and that's where, like in product management, the marketing really starts to come into play. So we continue to develop, evolve the product, and we get that marketing message just right. And it's a trial and error process. We figure it out. We do lots of testing. But when you have successfully achieved product market fit, that's kind of the relative gold standard of like what a successful product is capable of. Once you have product market fit in that you're reaching out to any number of companies and a large majority of them are, your message is just resonating with them. And it very quickly moves forward into a sale. They're using your product. They're really thoroughly enjoying your product. They're helping you continue to maintain and build your product and add cool features. That's when you get to product market fit. So I help them with the product problem solution fit in the beginning, and now we're on our way to product market fit.
Yeah, because you can't go to market to the masses with a product that's not fit, that's not right.
Has to fit.
Then it's just going to
has
be
to
pure
solve the right
chaos.
problem.
You're going to have a whole bunch of clients that aren't happy with the product.
Which is why one of the first things I try to fix, or one of the first things I fix when I'm engaged in a working with a customer is get out there and talk to your users, talk to the users, talk to the customers. They will. People are very vocal about the problems that they have, right?
Oh, yeah.
If something doesn't work, especially technology, they'll tell you about it.
Yes.
Listen to them.
Yeah.
There's right and I help them format it with the right structure as far as the right questions to ask and how to ask them and how, what to focus on. I'll help them. I'll coach customer interviews. I'll do sales calls as well, because there are specific questions, and I stimulate everything to dating, right? When I talk about things that way, it's interesting for people, and everyone's experienced this. So when you're dating, when you're talking to one another, there's always something that people are more excited about and less excited about. I help them find those things that they're more excited about, and then we use that information to build solutions around it.
Awesome. Awesome. So we're going to talk again at a later date about your other company, which is Staff Geek, right?
It is,
And I don't know when that will be, but it will be in the near future.
Sure.
Probably sometime, I don't know, maybe June-ish.
Sometime
Will you
when
come
it's
back?
warmer. Absolutely.
Did you have a good time?
I love this. This is amazing.
We sound like you're very good at what you do, and it sounds like you do
Thank
it
you.
all. I mean, seriously, like you said you make sales calls. You could probably be in there writing code
That's
at the
right.
same time, right?
I've done that too.
Right, but that's so important as an entrepreneur, right?
It is.
And people are also, once you get into the organization, I'm sure they're afraid to let you go, right?
I haven't had an engagement end yet, so
Right.
that's very encouraging. That's
Which
very
is
exciting.
good, yeah. All right, so I want you to let people know where they can find out more about NxtStep and maybe connect with you on LinkedIn or something like that. So look in that camera.
Absolutely.
Let them know where to go.
Done deal. So great way to reach out and find out more about my company, NxtStep Product Management, is via our website, which is nextstep.io, and it's NXT, no E. That's a great way to reach out to us, find out more about what we offer, our services, and also reach out to us. Otherwise, you can email me directly at Sean, SEAN, at, again, nextstep.io, NXT. Another great way to reach out to me. I'm also on LinkedIn, Sean Boyce. We have company pages on Facebook, on LinkedIn, so we're on social media as well. Also great ways to see some of the organic content that we create. We write articles about theory and practice, about things that are in the news, so those are also a ton of learning opportunities there as well.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you
I
so
enjoyed
much,
having
Krista.
you.
This
I'm
was a
very
blast.
excited to have you back. I think
Absolutely.
we're connected on a lot of different levels here,
think so, too.
very easy to talk to. I think
Good.
I think we went overboard on our time, but that's
That's
okay.
okay.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff. So make sure you stay tuned next week for Entrepreneur State of Mind, 11:30. I'm Krista Smolda signing off. Have a great week.